Surat Ibrahim, planting the tree of Tawheed, a Maqasidic insight by Dr. Karim Abuzaid. Join us on Saturdays and Sundays, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, with your host, Ustada Laila Nasheeba, streaming on all major platforms. Channel SunnahFollowers.
Ibrahim. This is a book written by Dr. Karim Abuzaid that focuses in on helping you to understand and implement the Surat, the chapter of the Quran known as the chapter of Ibrahim. And this is a very potent chapter of the Quran. And what makes it so potent is it addresses how to plant the tree of Tawheed into your heart. And we've been speaking about how to plant the tree of Tawheed within our heart. We talked about the seed, how to first of all purify the soil of the heart by freeing it of all those evil emotions of the heart, such as loneliness, depression, anxiety, jealousy, and all of that. We have to purify the soil of the heart and then plant the seed of Tawheed. And the seed of Tawheed is planted with the words of La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah, the testimony of faith. That statement of La ilaha illallah is what plants the seed of Tawheed. And then once the roots take form, we nourish the roots with knowledge of Allah. That's why it's important for you to seek the correct knowledge and understanding of this way of life. Knowledge of Allah, knowledge of his books, his prophets, his angels, knowledge of the day of judgment, knowledge of what happens on the day of judgment, knowledge of how there is no power, there is no might other than Allah, knowledge of Allah's names, his attributes, knowledge of his decree, and all of that. Then you have to take the time to learn what those obligations are that we owe to Allah, the pillars of faith, the prayers, and what's expected of us, what our obligations are to Allah, to the Prophet Muhammad, and to each other and this religion of Islam. Then we have to know how to show our allegiance to Allah, how to show our allegiance to the Prophet, to each other, to the Quran, to the religion of Islam. That's al-wala, wal-bara, and all of that. That's how we keep the roots of our tree of Tawheed nourished. And then the trunk will begin to grow. And we keep on nourishing that trunk until the fruit of our tree begins to appear. And the fruit of the tree, represents our character, whereas the trunk is our actions, our behaviors, what we have nourished, the roots based on the foundations of this religion will show through our actions. The trunk will continue to grow taller, stand higher and stronger and firmer, and be able to weather the storm based on the foundations of what we nourish the roots with. The fruit represents our character. Well, so now today we're going to go over steps 6 and 7, how to keep that tree nourished, how to continue to nourish the roots of our tree of Tawheed so that it can weather the storms. It can withstand the rain, the storms, the heavy winds that come its way. It can withstand the droughts that may come. It can withstand the abuses of man, the pollutants that man leaves on earth, so that it can still, as it dies, it can grow back. The leaves can come back. The fruit can come back. So that's what we're going to speak about today. So for those of you who are not on YouTube, make sure that you open up a tab on your cell phone to YouTube. Go to my YouTube channel, which is channel SunnahFollowers. Make sure you go to my YouTube channel, channel SunnahFollowers. Type SunnahFollowers, all one word, channel SunnahFollowers, and click on my live stream. So you will be able to, inshallah, see the PowerPoint that I am getting ready to put on the screen here. Everybody on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Twitch, Kick, and Rumble. You should be able to see the PowerPoint now. Here it is. And by the way, this is a picture of the book, this masterpiece that Dr. Karim Abuzaid, this is my favorite of all the books he's written. This is my favorite so far. And we will be covering steps 6 and 7, how to keep nurturing the tree, the roots of the tree of Tawheed, so that our tree that we have planted within our heart can remain strong and weather the storms and the environment, the weather that it is faced with. Okay, everybody can see it. And let me put this down too to make it so that nothing is in the way. Yeah, that's how the book looked. It's on Amazon. The book is $14.95. Inshallah, you can buy this book off of Amazon. And this is, again, is a continuation. This is verse 27. Everything today is relating to verse 27 of Surat Ibrahim. And then tomorrow we're going to take it from the next verses. Okay? Next week we will. Okay, everybody can see? Okay, you guys ready? All right, here we go. All right, and this is a picture of a tree. Those are the roots of the tree. I tried to find a picture of a tree that shows the roots, the trunk, and the fruit at the top, which are the leaves. All right, so even the strongest of trees needs constant care. A tree, no matter how tall, no matter how fruitful, no matter how firmly rooted it is, it cannot survive without both protection and nourishment. And neither can your faith, guys. Remember, this is the parable. This is the metaphor that Allah is using in this surah of the Quran. He's using the metaphor. He's comparing a tree to your faith. Your faith, it has taken root in your heart, just as a tree has taken root in the ground. And so just as the shahada, the testimony of faith, begins with the negation of la ilaha illallah, which means there is no deity other than Allah. That clears the heart of any falsehoods, and it nourishes the heart with the truth. So too must the tree of Tawheed be tended to in that same way. Protection is futile. Protection comes first. So the roots, the trunk, and the branches of the tree must be guarded. The tree of Tawheed that is planted in our hearts, it must be guarded against corrosion, against invasion, and against decay. We have to constantly protect the tree of faith in our heart from invasion. Invasion against what? Against polytheism, against shirk, against disbelief. We have to prevent our roots from decaying. prevent the trunk from becoming hollow in faith. So we have to keep it nourished. How do we prevent this? By constantly nourishing the roots. We have to be consistent. We have to be deliberate. And we have to be life-giving in sustenance that allows every part of the tree in our heart to grow and thrive and bear the fruit of faith. So the tree of Tawheed does not stop growing once its roots have settled in our heart. Its trunk has risen and its fruits have appeared in our character, but we have to continuously nurture it. We have to be diligent in protecting it. We have to protect the tree within, and we have to protect the tree without too, so that it can stand tall for the whole duration of our lifetime and even beyond. All right? So what are we protecting the tree of faith in our heart from? Well, we're protecting its environment. How do we protect it? Through dawah and through social clarity. Remember, true dawah is not from what you say, it's from your actions. That's why the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us to hold ourselves accountable before we speak. Hold ourselves accountable before we do an action, and then hold ourselves accountable after we speak. Hold ourselves accountable after we commit an action. So think before you speak. And then after you speak, think and ask yourself, was what I said worthy of being said? Should I have said it? Was it the right thing to say? Did I present it correctly? So that way, if you said something you shouldn't have said, you can go and apologize and make amends for it. The same with our actions. So even the healthiest tree will struggle in a polluted environment. So to preserve your Tawheed, the believer must tend to the garden around the tree of their home, their community, and their public voice. And how do we do this? This is done through enjoining the good, using wisdom and compassion. It's also done by forbidding what's bad and dirty, staying away from injustice, and by staying away from sins. And it's also done by calling others to Allah, not only for your benefit or for their benefit, but to protect yourself from your erosion of values. A lot of people ask me, why is it that I give dawah every day? Why is it that I just don't teach Islam like some of these other people once a month or once every 2 weeks? I can't do that. Are you crazy? I have to call others to Allah for myself. When I'm teaching you guys, I'm also reminding myself. I don't want to remind myself to fear Allah once a month. What am I going to do the other 29 days of the month? I'm reminding myself to fear Allah every day of the year, not just 2 times out the year. This is my way of keeping my tree healthy. I don't want the tree of Tawheed in my heart to become corrupted and polluted. I don't want to become a hypocrite. Teaching you is teaching me. Reminding you, I'm reminding myself. I don't have anything else to do. What am I supposed to do? Go and have a henna party? What am I supposed to do? Go out in the streets and hang out at the mall like a lot of women do? Backbiting, slandering, gossiping, flirting with men, picking up men, sit on the internet talking to a bunch of men who are not mahrams to me? to make me feel good like a lot of you sisters do? No, no, no. I teach Islam every day, because this is how I protect my space from erosion of values. Subhanallah. So just as the weeds of a garden must be pulled out in order for the trees to flourish, falsehood must be challenged for faith to thrive. And Prophet Abraham, alayhi salam, is an excellent example of this. He didn't just nurture his tree once a month. He didn't nurture his tree of Tawheed in his heart once every 2 weeks. No, he did it every day of the year. And so did his wife Sarah too, by the way. Just like our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his wife Khadijah. What is it that made Khadijah radiyallahu anha one of the most perfect women ever created? What is it that made Mary one of the most perfect women ever created? What is it that made Asiya and Fatima two of the most perfect women ever created? They didn't earn that title by nurturing their tree of Tawheed once every other week or once a month. They earned that title by nurturing their tree of Tawheed every day of their life. Okay? When you look at Prophet Abraham, alayhi salam, he nurtured Tawheed within his society, his home, and everywhere else. He stood up against his father's idolatry with tenderness and the truth. He stood up against his people's culture with reason and clarity. He stood up against tyrants like Nimrod with courage and firm resolve. When you look at Khadijah radiyallahu anha, she did the same thing. When you look at Mary, the same thing. When you look at Asiya, the same thing. These people stood up against this stuff every day of their lives, not once every 2 weeks, not once a month. Again, you want to have a tree of Tawheed. This is a 24-hour job, sisters and brothers. This ain't a once a month job. Okay? Every debate that these people had to deal with was a branch of growth. Every stand that they took was a leaf unfurled. Prophet Abraham, alayhi salam, he knew that to protect the tree within his heart, he had to cleanse the soil around it. And when the land became too hostile, what did he do? That's when he migrated. He left. He left behind the poisoned soil for a place where his tree could grow freely. And again, everybody's situation is different. Mary left too. Mary left too. She had to leave too, due to her circumstances. Sarah, who was Abraham's wife, she left with her husband, Abraham. Okay? So some of us have to leave, nurturing that tree of Tawheed, depending on where you are in your faith. Some of us are alone, like I am. Okay, I don't have a husband with me. Khadijah, radiyallahu anha, she didn't have a husband. In the beginning, she was by herself. Then when she did have a husband, her husband was a prophet. They worked together to plant the tree of Tawheed. Sarah had a husband, but she and her husband was Abraham. They worked together to plant that tree of Tawheed. Asiya was alone because her husband was a tyrant. Fatima, radiallahu anha, she worked together because her father was a prophet and her husband was a companion to plant that tree of Tawheed. That was a 24-hour job. I'm alone. I ain't got no husband. I can't take a break. I'm a daya. I'm a caller to the truth. I'm calling the people back to the traditional Islam with the understanding of the original companions, not a maktab, not an imam, not the scholars of today. I'm alone. I'm alone. I'm alone. I'm the blackbird with the red beak. I can't afford to take a day off, because if I take a day off, Shaitan would move in. Okay, I don't have no help. I don't have a husband to pick me up, to defend me, to support me. Most men want to take me down. Most men want to help Shaitan to take me out. And if I had a husband, he'd be too ashamed to admit that he is my husband, because that's just the world we live in. Most men don't want to own up to a woman being strong like me, okay? They'd rather have a weak woman that's too weak to even acknowledge herself. So I can't afford to take a month off. So we have to work hard. We have to work hard to protect your tree from erosion of values. Listen to what Allah says in the interpretation of the meaning. And they planned, talking about Prophet Abraham, alayhi salam, and they planned to harm him, but we made them the worst of losers, and we saved him and his nephew Lot to a land we had blessed for all people. That's what happened to Abraham. Abraham had to leave his country. Just him, his wife, and his nephew Lot. And they had to move to a whole different part of the world because their entire country people turned against them. Okay? So they could maintain their tree of Tawheed within their heart. Subhanallah. That's the sacrifice the believers have to make. So this is not just a historical note. This is a reminder that migration, calling others to the truth, and struggling in the way of Allah are not just competing paths. They are all part of the same sacred mission to protect and pass on the legacy of Tawheed. Most people today, most Muslims today are not willing to make that type of sacrifice for Tawheed. But there's a few of us that are. And for those of us like myself who are willing to make that sacrifice, I could care less what people say about me spending all my time in the way of Allah teaching Islam. I'd rather do this than be at a henna party, than be out shopping in the streets, than be sitting around watching TV, than be sitting around wasting my time and my life in this dunya and end up in my grave in a boiling pot of hot water like most of the people will be in the hellfire. Okay? So, how do we nourish the roots of our tree? How do we keep that tree nourished for our life time endeavor? Well, we nourish the roots of our tree through reflection and revelation. The roots of faith, we have to feed them through two continuous sources: by reflecting upon Allah's creational signs, like we talked about earlier today, the stars, the sun, the moon, the different seasons, the human body, all the signs that Allah has here on earth. These are signs, as he says in the Quran, for those of us who believe in him to reflect upon. So if we reflect upon the creation of Allah, these are signs for those of us who believe in him. Signs that there is no power, there is no might other than Allah. That not only is he the creator of all of this, but from him have we come, and unto him we all shall eventually return back to. And whatever choices we've made in this world, we have to answer for. So that's how we feed the roots of our tree. And also we feed the roots of our tree through the knowledge of Allah's signs, the revelational signs, knowledge of the Quran, learning the Quran and its meaning, learning Allah's names and attributes, learning the hadiths of our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The hadiths are the things that the Prophet Muhammad said, learning the things that he said and the things that he did, learning his guidance, his legacy. These two things will help to nourish the root of the tree in our heart. It will deepen our sincerity towards Allah. It will strengthen our love for Allah, and it will keep our hearts alive with meaning. It will keep our hearts alive in remembrance of what our purpose is, of what we were created to do here in this world. So that's how we keep the roots of the tree of our heart, nourished. And then we have to work on strengthening the trunk, because Allah tells us in the Quran that just because we say we believe in him is not enough. He's going to test us with everything we love: our children, our husbands, our wives, our jobs, our money, our life, our health. So we have to strengthen our trunk. The trunk are the actions. And how do we strengthen our actions? We strengthen our actions by obeying Allah. And obedience comes through love and submission to him. So the trunk represents obedience. But you can only obey someone if you love them. So we have to work on developing that love for Allah. And again, as we develop knowledge of him, that's when the love for him grows. And as your love for Allah deepens, you will find yourself eager to please him. You will find yourself wanting to submit to him. And you will find joy in carrying out his commands. And you will find yourself not wanting to earn his anger. And the more love that fills your heart, you begin to taste the sweetness of faith. And the more sincerity develops in your heart, the stronger the trunk of your tree becomes, because the better your actions become. You'll stop smoking, stop drinking, you'll stop partying, You'll stop fornicating. You'll stop disobeying Allah. And the branches of your tree become stronger, and the character of yourself becomes better. Okay? And that's why our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us that faith is not fed by emotions alone. He taught us that faith is sustained by rhythm. Just as a tree needs sunlight and water and pruning, he taught us that the soul needs daily worship. The soul needs prayer. The soul needs remembrance of Allah. The soul needs weekly revivals. That's why it's important to attend the Jummah prayer. That's why it's important to fast during the month of Ramadan. That's why it's important to come to my classes every day, because these are gatherings of remembrance of Allah, because you're learning about him. You're learning his religion correctly. That's why it's important to do voluntary deeds like giving and charity. That's why the Prophet taught us, to be kind in your speech and to have patience. We have to remember that any good deed that we do is an act of charity, and charity makes the soul stronger, because the charity is like adding water to the root of your tree, and that strengthens the trunk and makes the fruit that comes from the branches sweeter. And once the fruit becomes sweeter, the trunk will begin to grow taller and reach the sky. And that's the legacy of Prophet Abraham. And the best trees don't just survive. The best trees, they grow and they give. After the roots have dug deep into the earth, the trunk will stand tall in obedience, and the branches will stretch upward towards the sky. That's the tree of Tawheed. And that's why the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam once asked his companions, "Tell me, what tree resembles the Muslim?" He said, "Its leaves never fall, and it bears fruit in every season." And the answer was the date palm tree. Because the date palm tree stands tall, strong, and firm. Its branches reach towards the sky, and it bears fruit all year round. And it weathers the heat. It weathers the storm. It's resilient. That's how we're supposed to be, guys. And that's how the true Muslim is, the true believer. The true believer's faith never withers. The true believer's faith reaches upward, and his actions always bear fruit, and his presence benefits all who comes close to him. That tree reaches the heavens. That tree's fruits reaches upward towards Allah. That was the tree of Prophet Abraham. That tree grew so tall that Allah declared Prophet Abraham as his intimate, beloved friend. How many of us could ever earn such a title, where Allah would refer to you or me as being his personal friend. And why was Abraham honored so? Because his tree of Tawheed was rooted in knowledge of Allah. His tree of Tawheed was nurtured with sincerity. His tree of Tawheed was strengthened through sacrifice and crowned with devotion to Allah. And his faith didn't remain private. He lived it. He walked it. He proclaimed it. And he suffered for it. He prayed for it. Not just for himself, but for his future generations too. And Prophet Abraham's tree didn't just reach the sky. His tree changed the world. His tree became a legacy